Yeah.
So can I stipulate why I'm here first, and then we can discuss how you approach the situation?
You're recording this?
No.
Right.
So I contacted Forth Valley Advocacy numerous times. So to give you an understanding of what happened, I arrived here August 22nd, 2014. Right? And I was brought here on the pretense of delusions of grandeur. So I'm not, I have my Canadian passport, all my documents, everything in my bag, which I can actually give you.
No, that's fine. Okay.
So basically, I got taken to the psych ward, and a Dr. Gott said, I'm not Canadian, I never worked at high-level IT, because I basically worked at Lloyd's Bank, Bank of America, Royal Bank of Canada, everything. So I'm making that up. I was never involved in the Calgary floods. You think you're bigger than you think you are, and therefore I'm sectioning you. And I said, before you make a horrendous mistake, please at least let me show you who I am. So he refused me to use a phone. I couldn't use a computer. So I was almost trapped. And the thing is that I would say is I was literally marched from outside by 2 police Scotland officers. I'm like, what's going on here? I got taken to roommate. They injected me with, I really still to this day don't know what it was, but to the point I was paralyzed from the waist down. I couldn't feel my legs. They beat the crap out of me, 4 nurses. Then what I did was, when I was lying naked on the floor, at least half naked, you know how there's those little, like a window like that, and they were literally standing there watching me as I'm naked. I'm like, this is freaking barbaric. There's 6 weeks. A Dr. Mustafa, so I initially saw a Dr. Gotts, then a Dr. Mustafa, and then a Dr. Crawford. Dr. Mustafa would regularly come in wearing absolutely no underwear, to the point I'm like, you're a psychologist and you're coming in with no underwear, saying, well, you're an IT manager, surely you can teach me IT project management. I was injected 3 times, beaten twice, they spat in my food, and the only way I got out was Ormiston's. I had to go to a tribunal several times to plead my case of, and then they basically went, oh, sorry, we made a big mistake, on you go. I mean, horrendous. So I was literally, every civil and human right that was broken, and then they went, oh, you are who you say you are, you can go. But you're going to inject me 3 times, spit in my food. I got attacked with a fork by some lunatic from Berlin in the cafeteria. I mean, it was barbaric. And then I got told to contact Forth Valley several times, and I got told, oh, you were never in this hospital.
Well, the Forth Valley Advocacy certainly wrote on your behalf, because there is a copy of the disqualification on the 22nd of October.
Which email did you send that to?
It wasn't emailed, it was sent in writing to, and because Advocacy were writing on your behalf, we wrote to them.
I'll be honest with you, even when I was in here and Advocacy was coming in and saying, you got to be careful what you're doing here because you might not get out, Advocacy told me they're terrified because you can literally section anyone for anything in here. And, it's one thing to section someone, which is horrific. I didn't deserve to be beaten the shit out of. I didn't deserve to be injected. I'll be honest with you, when they injected me, I had tears rolling down my face saying, please don't do this. 3 times. Mocking me, and on a daily basis, during the night, what they do is they do that during the night on the pipe, so you can't sleep. So it is just a constant barrage of psychological warfare. And regardless of whether you're placed in a place like that, I can clearly show you I'm a Canadian citizen, have been for over 20 years. I did work at all these high-level banks. I did get caught in the Calgary floods. What gives Scotland or Forth Valley the right to inject me, spit in my food, and beat me up for the fact that I'm delusions of grandeur when I can clearly prove it? The thing that I said to him before the whole thing started, I said, please don't do this before I can prove who I am. And he said, I'm not letting you do that. Took me to a roommate. I have asthma and everything. I got refused every single medication. They stole my Bible. I'm a very spiritual person. I said, can you please let me at least have a towel so I can pray on the floor? Refused that. I mean, if I'm supposed to be here for safety, it was a physical or psychological attack every single day. You're unwell, you're unwell, you're unwell, you're unwell. I said, stop. The only reason I got out of here is I told Dr. Crawford, you won't break me? And he's like, well, maybe you're right, you can go. I went to 2 tribunals where Dr. Mustafa point blank lied through her teeth about what was going on in there. And Armiston said, yeah, they're blatantly lying, you gotta hang in there. It's like I was placed as some kind of criminal. I've not committed a crime in my life. And the thing is, if you're willing to detain someone, I was born in Scotland, right? It doesn't take that difficult to find out who someone is. What I'm saying is, let's say on the first day I'm here, okay, you come here under unusual circumstances, maybe you're not Canadian, maybe, it doesn't take 6 weeks for an international hospital in a Western country to figure out, I was born here, I have a Canadian passport, even if it just doesn't take 6 weeks, even if you literally held me in there for 6 weeks and did nothing, that's one thing. But to inject me, to beat me, and to unclothe me and watch me lying naked, I'll be honest, that's barbaric. That is barbaric. And it got to the point I thought, I'm never getting out of here. And the only reason I got out of there, you're not supposed to use phones and emails and stuff. I literally, there was one decent girl in there and said, I don't know why you're getting treated like this. Brought me in clothes from her house. He said, here's my phone, try and phone someone to get out of here. I said to her, am I in prison here? What have I done? And I could not get a response. I contacted Scottish Government, I contacted Forth Valley, and the thing is, I wrote very specific questions, as I'm telling you now. The spitting in the food, the beating me up, the injections. It was basically denied. And the thing is now that 2 years later, virtually, I have any evidence you can possibly want. People who are willing to write on my behalf. I think I deserve an apology.
In terms of complaint process, because it happened in 2014 and this is 2016, you have 6 months and 6 months, and not normally more than a year, to make a complaint.
I wrote my first
We
complaint.
responded to a complaint because that was sent to advocacy, and advocacy.
I never got it.
Well, they should have shared it with you.
But how is that my fault? I've never seen any of this.
Again, how would that be ours? We write to them in good faith because they're your representative, because they wrote on your behalf with your consent. So we responded to them. So that was.
So can you just walk me through where? I mean, I'm just reading it for the first time now. Does it? Have you read it?
I wrote it.
Okay. So does it address me being injected, me being spat at?
Have any.
So it's saying I agreed with him that I had a psychological illness?
We can only go on the information that we receive.
I mean, it is against every human and civil right you can imagine. I got marched into this hospital. I didn't walk in here freely. This guy could literally say whatever he wants, and because he's a psychologist, I literally have no power to do anything. That's essentially what it is. This guy could write anything, and I can't do nothing.
You can, because he has to stand by the statement he makes, and if you're not happy with a
right.
doctor...
But the thing is, what I'm saying is, his 3 grounds for detaining me, right, was that I was not Canadian, I never worked in IT at a high level, I was never caught in the Calgary floods, and what he also said was, my ankle was never broken. He's a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever he is.
Psychiatrist.
How can he make a judgment on whether my ankle was broken or not in another country?
Did you see the application to detain you? When they detain, you're saying that
the whole point was delusions of grandeur. Right. Then it changed every single week. It's the reason I was here. The reason he sectioned me the very first time was that I was making it all up, and I thought I was some high-level manager, which I wasn't. And they said it's going to take time to figure out whether you're telling the truth or not. Within a few days, I was then injected, and I'm like, so you're injecting me before you even know who I am? And they're like, yeah, that then happened 3 times.
And they didn't tell you what they were using?
I know it was pretty horrific considering what it did to my body. And the other thing is that they said, we won't inject you, and then within 24 hours, I got pinned down and injected. And the thing is, I wasn't hurting nobody. I wasn't being violent. I was paralyzed from the waist down with no clothes on, while nurses are standing in the hallway watching me. To then go to the cafeteria and go, we know who you are, and like, let's say this is my plate, spit in my food, and then go, there you go. And to be honest with you, I'm quite tempted. I don't ever want to come back to Scotland again the way I was treated. It was barbaric. I'm almost at the point of going to Ormiston's and wherever these Forth Valley advocacy workers are, because I literally wrote complaint after complaint after complaint. I'm like, just to give you an example, one of the key things he said was, I'm not Canadian. My passport was in my bag. I said, why can't you just open my bag and look at my passport? Too busy for that. So you're too busy to open my bag, but you're going to section me.
Yeah. We would need, have you ever asked for a copy of your clinical records?
Listen, I have made complaint after complaint after
complaint and asking for records is different. You can
listen, Dr. Gotts, Dr. Mustafa, Dr. Crawford didn't. Those two first, psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever they are, lied through their teeth. Even when we went to tribunal, we sat in front of a panel, and one of the panel said, why did you inject him with that? That is a very dangerous drug. Even at that point, I still didn't know what they injected me with. And I'll be honest with you, my lawyer was sat to the left of me, and Dr. Mustafa was like, he's been violent, he's been this, he's done this. I literally took Dr. Mustafa apart, every single thing she was saying, to the point she's looking at the ground, embarrassed, and they're like, the reason we can't let you go is you're counter-claiming what Dr. Mustafa said. I mean, literally, I came in here for asthma. I had an asthma attack. I think the police officer was Dr. Dodd or Dodds, marched me in here handcuffed. I'm like, what is this? I got marched to a psych ward. I'm like, why am I in the psych ward? They're like, how did you get here? I'm like, why is that relevant? So then, well, we just want to make sure your safety. So I said, what happened in Canada? I flew here August 22nd, and then that's it. Sectioned. I'm like, sectioned for what? Well, you're not Canadian. I'm like, my passport's in my bag. It was sat right next to me. Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And I said, well, I'm an IT manager. So you think you've worked on multi-million dollars? I'm like, I could prove it to you. Sectioned, you're lost your mind, delusions of grandeur. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, before you make a big mistake, Dr. Gotts, let me show you who I am. So rather than, if you're taking someone on physical evidence, before you make a clinical decision, it's a good idea to look at the evidence, right? You would think that. They denied every single thing of looking at the computer. I said, I could show you every single email from all my managers right now. I don't have time to see it. Okay, I said, so I broke my ankle in Toronto in an ice storm in December 2013. You never broke your ankle. Your ankle looks fine to me. I said, so you're telling me that, and there's a big massive investigation in Toronto about why the doctor didn't treat it properly, can easily prove that. You're telling me my ankle is not broken from you visually looking at it? He's like, yeah. So he said, I said, why are you sectioning me? He said, based on the grounds, you think you're Canadian or some kind of international IT manager. It is my opinion that you're not. It's my opinion that you've never been to Canada. You don't seem to know anything about Canada. And you told me you got caught in the Calgary floods and then broke your ankle when in the space of 6 months. That doesn't even seem possible. I think you've lost your mind. You're sectioned. I'm like this. And I got marched by 2 English police officers to room number 8. I still remember it. It was traumatizing. They locked the door. And that night, bad things happened to me. And it was a daily basis of, you're unwell, you're unwell. Even if that was the case, does it give someone the right to bang on my door the whole night so I can't sleep? Does it give someone the right to undress me and so the door's locked and I can't get out and they're looking through a window like that? I mean, we are talking barbaric. To the point, then it gets to 6 weeks and they go, actually, we're letting you go because there's some things have come to light that you are who you say you are. So I said, so you've put me through all that for nothing? So then I now have more than enough evidence to back up everything I said. So was willing to, one, make those conclusions without even looking at the evidence I have, didn't call the consulate. The grounds that he sectioned me on could have been verified within, I mean, you guys probably have access to a phone, I'm guessing, email. All you have to do is contact the Canadian Embassy and they would have told him. But it takes you 6 weeks, 3 injections, beat up several times, and leave me naked on the floor so you can stare at me. Is that appropriate?
I can't agree with what you're saying because I don't know. I wasn't there in terms of complaint process. As I
But
said,
all that
we-
complaint
you know,
was all that was
yeah,
written in my
and-
complaint.
and
But it doesn't address it.
yeah,
I'm
well,
clearly looking at that.
that's fine. But you should have seen that from advocacy, so that would be something.
Okay, so
you
that's
end up
one
saying.
thing, right?
In
But it's a
terms of-
breakdown in communication all
Yeah.
over the place.
So, the question I was asking is, have you seen your medical records?
No.
There is a process that you can apply to see your medical records. You don't have to get copies of it. If you want copies, you pay for them.
Can I just ask?
Yeah.
I just asked Scottish government,
Mhm.
email after email after email after email.
Mhm.
I'll give you an example. You know the reason I came back to Scotland was because I had emails from Scottish government saying, come back to Scotland, we'll get your situation sorted, you'll be safe. When I was in that psych ward, I contacted Scottish Parliament, Lisa Gordon, and I'm like, so you told me to come back to Scotland, you told me to go to Stirling University, I get marched by 2 Scottish cops to a psych ward and sectioned. What the hell is going on? You know what her reply was? Don't know who you are. I still have the emails from her stipulating, come back to Scotland, you'll be safe. I touched down in Glasgow Airport August 22nd. I'm told to go to Stirling University for accommodation. I get marched here and sectioned. I hadn't even said anything.
Again, that's out with my remit because I can't corroborate any of that.
So what I'm, but I can give you the evidence.
Can.
But I can give you the evidence.
But again, anything external to NHS Forth Valley, I can't comment on and I can't act upon.
So let's say, but yeah, I was at this hospital, right?
Yeah.
And I was detained here based on certain reasons. If I can give you the evidence that rubbishes everything this guy said, surely an apology is at that point.
We would need to
You tell me
take
how
it,
I get it
right.
to you.
So, you put it in writing.
But I have.
Well, put it in writing again.
But you
So-
don't
someone
reply
else-
to me.
Right, so, but someone else was acting on your behalf who we replied to.
So I email you a complaint and you email someone else who never told me. That's essentially what happened.
No, the complaint came through advocacy.
No, but what I'm saying is I've gone to the Lothian headquarters as well, right?
Right.
And I basically said, how do I deal with this? Because no one is replying to my emails.
Mhm.
It's 5, I can't remember the exact patient relation, whatever.